This week on Gymwright Live, we interview Andrew Frezza, owner of CrossFit Palm Beach and the awesome new podcast, 7-Figure Box, to learn how you can turn your team of regular old coaches into a team of rockstar coaches. Plus, we'll be discussing team buy-in as well as how to crack the code on staff meetings that your coaches will actually look forward to attending. For all of you listening to this via podcast, be sure to check out the video version of this interview at gymwright.com. And if you'd like to watch the show live, we record every Friday in the network, our free private Facebook group for the motivated gym owners of the world to share their best tactics and strategies to grow their businesses. Join the network today and get in on the conversation. Also, if you find any of this information useful in today's episode and you're interested in learning how we might be able to help you break through in your business, sign up for a free strategy session with me at gymwright.com/strategy, and we'll identify where you're at, where the biggest opportunity is in your business, and the best path forward in taking your gym to the next level. All right, let's do this thing. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Gymwright Live. I am your host, Marcus Gursey, and this week we welcome back to the show special guest, Andrew Frezza. Andrew, pleasure to have you on today, man.
Thanks for having me, Marcus. Happy to be back.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we just had you on actually, just barely over a month ago, I think now. And we got so many questions about that initial show that we immediately booked you for a follow-up because it was all about the Rockstar Coaching Program that kept kind of coming up in the conversation. So we figured we might as well walk everybody through, what it is, how it works, and just answer all the questions here. So thanks for coming back on such short notice.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Now, before we get into the actual course today, because you're actually going to walk us through the Rockstar Coaching Course. Yep. Tell us a little bit more about what it is and how it even came to be. Like, why did you even build this thing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, give you a little background. We just celebrated 6 years at CrossFit Palm Beach, and we're now over 500 members. We just hit 7 figures in revenue for 2018. But
Congrats.
Like a lot of gym owners, thank you. A lot of gym owners out there, when we first started back in December 2012, we had some good success right off the bat. I mean, we were doing a lot of things right, but I think where a lot of people get stuck is that they kind of hit that anywhere from 100 to 150 members. We were on that upper side, 150 members, where it's like you start to kind of plateau and you start to look for how can we get beyond that? How can we start to retain more members? How can we start to add new members? And what I started to realize is I started to go out, to seminars and certifications, and I was going to things like Olympic lifting certs and mobility certs. And each one of those things that I did, or each one of those things that I sent my coaches to, like a level 1 or level 2, they would come back more knowledgeable, but it wasn't showing up on the business side. We weren't seeing more revenue. We weren't seeing more members retained. And when I started to dive into things like my personal growth, when I started diving into courses like Dale Carnegie and Tony Robbins and Ben Bergeron stuff, I started to realize that there was a lot of soft skills there that needed to be cultivated that would allow you to break through with people and allow you to retain more members, get them to refer more friends, create a better class experience. And as we incorporated those things, the difference became exponential. And that's where we really saw things start to grow. And, if I could distill that down to sort of one idea, it was caring. How do we show people that we care? Because as a gym owner, I care a lot. And every time I take the floor, I'm doing those things to show my members how much I care about the product, how much I care about them. But our team doesn't necessarily do that. And they might care a lot as well, but we've never set the stage for them to do that. We've never shown them the actions that equal caring in the minds of our clients and in our customers. So the other wake-up call that I had is that in the first 3 to 6 months, and even I'll make the argument beyond that, but definitely in the first 3 to 6 months, no one knows the technical side of coaching. No one cares about the technical side of coaching. What's going to make the difference in that first 90 days is, does that person feel welcome? Do they feel cared about? Do they feel like they're getting attention every time they show up to class? So we wanted to cultivate those skills. And we found if we can get someone to stick for 90 days, we can usually get them for 2, 3, 4, maybe for a lifetime, for many years and maybe for life. So we really focus on doing those little things to create a relationship, create a great client experience, create a great class experience. And we found that that enabled us to then do the technical coaching that we wanted to do down the road, but we had to kind of earn our way to do it. So what the course is basically distilling all those ideas into an 8-week course that owners can take their coaches through, basically like an on-ramp for your coaches. You can take any new coach through it. But what I would recommend is that you take your current team of coaches through it every 12 to 18 months as a refresher and get back to the basics. Get back to the basics of what makes you successful. You know, how do we show people we care? How do we create relationships? You know, all those little skills, those little soft skills that create a great environment. How do we do those things so that way we're able to showcase the skills we want to showcase, which is the technical skills down the road. And then from the gym owner's perspective, they're going to be able to retain more members, make more money, coach less classes confidently. And the big one is finally having a team that feels like a cohesive team rather than just a group of individuals. That's really what I want to create. I grew up playing baseball and I fell in love with CrossFit because of the team environment. And I really want to help owners, especially owners that want to create a gym that's their one gym. They're not looking to create many multiple gyms. They want to create that one gym that is their gym that they love showing up to each day. I want them to have a team of people that they love being surrounded by each day and that they can confidently delegate classes to or delegate work to. So that's a big piece of it. And then in that 8 weeks, we're teaching people how to run great meetings. And that's a big piece of the puzzle is how can you create an environment where coaches development happens regularly. And that's a big goal of course is we want to not just give you a fish, but teach you a fish. So every week has weekly assignments. And then after those 8 weeks, you're going to feel confident that you can do this on an ongoing basis. And you don't need that course to continue to grow as a team.
Awesome, man. Well said. I love what you said about, you know, it's not just about, you know, making the product better and making the experience better. Because I think we all, as the owners, know like we can deliver a pretty great experience, but it's being able to do that through our coaches confidently, right?
Yeah.
Actually knowing that they're going to be doing an amazing job every single time because you have the standards in place, you have the buy-in in place that is going to allow you to amp up the product and the experience while simultaneously now having the confidence to start taking yourself off the schedule more and more, at least maybe from a high volume coaching load to a more minimalist coaching load so that you can focus on the other areas of the business or perhaps other things altogether, right? Everyone has their own story, their own definition of success, but either way, being stuck in coaching too many classes is a dangerous place to be because that's typically what tees up burnout, right? And not to mention limits your growth abilities because you can't put the bandwidth towards growth related activities, right? Whether that's you doing sales, you know, doing intros or doing onboarding or managing your staff and just the business as a whole and running it more like a CEO rather than just I'm a very poorly paid coach, just doing way too many classes, right? So
that's why we're not trying to take coaches out of coaching classes. We want them to have the option and we want to be able to renew their love for coaching because they aren't burnt out by it. And they also have things that I think from an owner standpoint, this is going to give you things to work on because a lot of owners don't get any feedback on their own coaching. And this is going to create an environment where you're part of the team and you actually get things to work on yourself. So you feel like you're not just going through the motions out there.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, then without further ado, man, let's jump right in. So you have been kind enough, you're actually going to walk us through the program itself. Like we're going to have you share the screen here. And I'm going to let you kind of take the reins on this. We're just going to kind of talk through this thing and I'll let you kick it off.
Awesome. So this is the back end of the course. This is what people will see once they purchase and sign in. On the left-hand side, we have all the different kind of the table of contents. And then on the right-hand side is the lessons. And it's a combination of videos and PDFs. And it's broken down by week. Every week has a meeting agenda with it. So there's always going to be something very actionable and very concrete that's going to go with the weekly meeting. So before I get into the introduction though, first thing we do is that we get on a 45-minute coaching call. That's one of the bonuses of the course. is that you're going to have a 45-minute coaching call with me. And we have a couple goals with that. Number one is to make sure that if you don't already have it, we're going to set a regular meeting time with you and your team. All right. And I kind of help you troubleshoot that, whether you want to meet weekly or bi-weekly. If you have people that have to come in remotely, we're going to figure it out, customize it to you. The other thing we do is make sure that your 10-year vision, which is part of our week 1 assignment, but that your 10-year vision and your 6-month goals have some direction and are pretty dialed in. And then lastly, we try to figure out at least 1 to 2 action steps that we can do right away, because the course being 8 weeks, a lot of people are buying this course because they have something that has an immediate need. They have something they want to improve today. So we try to give them something really actionable that they can improve today regarding their team, and they don't necessarily have to wait till that lesson in the course hits in order to do that. So yeah, it's really just a chance for us to troubleshoot any area of your coach's development, your team, and make sure that you're using the course to the best of its abilities. From
Awesome.
there, we go into the course. So week 1, you're going to have access to each lesson with each week. So you won't have access to everything right away, because we really want to make sure that you guys are doing the assignments and not just skipping ahead. So when you open the course, you're going to have access to the introduction and week 1. And the introduction is kind of reiterating what we already talked about with the meeting schedules, getting that dialed in. And then we also talk about how we break out the lessons, which we have lessons for your team, and then we have lessons for you as the owner. Okay. So anything that you see on that left-hand column that says owner's content, that's for you as the owner. You're also going to watch the other videos as well, but then the coaches will know just to watch the videos for them. And then we teach you how to introduce the Rockstar Coaching Course to your team and how to kind of lay it out so that way your team's on board and they're getting that buy-in from the start. When we go into week, you have something, Marcus?
No, I was going to say, man, that's actually a great touch, because I know that a lot of people, when they want to implement a new, protocol or system or set of rules or anything, they always have that kind of initial knee jerk, like, oh, but what's my staff going to say? Or how do I best package this in a way that they're going to be excited about it, because as excited about it as I am, rather than seeing it as like, oh, here's another thing we're going to have to do, or like more work or more meetings or whatever the thing is. So nice touch.
Cool. So then from that, we go into week 1, which is really, we start really high level aerial on this. And 1 is you need a vision for your team. If you've never created any kind of vision for your team, you can't expect a lot in return. And this week 1 is about developing buy-in from our team. And in order to do that, we have to have that vision set. So we talk about what makes a great box. We talk about things like the class experience can be your greatest asset or your greatest liability. And most of us as gym owners have more than enough waivers, collecting dust or digital waivers to be successful, right? And if we can just do a better job with the people that have already showed up, that can be the flywheel that creates more members. And then, yeah, we can market, we can do that stuff on top of it, but we need to make sure that the class experience is already an asset for us. It's not a liability. So it's getting everybody to understand that from a higher level, and then getting the coaches to take a hard look at themselves. So the owner's doing their part, the coach has to do their part as well. The coach is going to go through our Why Do You Coach video, and they're going to go through our Why Do You Coach document and answer a bunch of questions about why are they doing this? Do they see themselves doing this 5-10 years from now? Where do they get their values from? What do they get out of coaching? And this is 1, giving you a chance to see as the owner where this person stands. But what we found is that this actually happened with our team, is that you actually might have coaches who are part-time that know they're not committed, that may drop off on their own. They might actually leave your team and do you a favor because they realize they're not bought in as they go through these exercises. So we need to first define that, figure out where everyone stands. And that's really the goal of week 1, is getting the why and getting both people bought in, both sides bought in.
Awesome.
From there, we go into week 2 and we start to break down what makes a great coach. So we're getting a little bit more granular here, and we go into our pyramid here, which is the 5 levels of the Rockstar Coach. And you can see a lot of these videos. We have a video at the top, and then we have PDFs at the bottom. So we break down all the roles, which I talked about in the last podcast: the cheerleader, the director, the technician, the programmer, and the coach. And we start to break down some actions that would happen under those roles. So you can see in a class environment, where are you spending time as a coach? Where are my coaches spending time? It gives us a really clear way to evaluate someone, not just on, hey, these are things you do good and these are things you're doing, you could do better, but like, where do you tend to spend most of your time? Do you tend to spend your time just kind of standing back and directing the group? Do you spend your time like talking to people one-on-one, but you never actually organize the group? You never do any technical coaching? Where are we spending our time? And we have an exercise at the end of the week that we break that down with our coaches. It becomes a group discussion where we're able to give all of our coaches feedback. Coaches are able to provide feedback to each other. And it's a really great first exercise to get us overview of where do you stand as a coaching team and the individuals on your team.
Yeah, I love the pyramid that you put together. Those who were on the last episode, obviously we went into depth about this. I think this is actually the thing that sparked, I think, a lot of the questions and a lot of the intrigue about the program was just how you had created that pyramid. Here it is, of the hierarchy, right? So how we want to ascend and how most people, they want to just be able to do the technical coaching stuff, but we really don't get access to that privilege with someone until we have kind of worked our way up. Can you give us just kind of the quick once over on this?
Yeah,
one more time for those who are seeing this for the first time?
So yeah, we start at the base of the cheerleader. Everyone thinks of the cheerleader in a negative way because they don't think about the relationship side, which is how we think of it. So the cheerleader is the relationship builder, the community builder. They're the person that shows the person that they care about them. They do that by being there 10 minutes before class, spending that time, asking how someone's doing, asking how their day is going, seeing if anything's bothering that day. They're checking in with them throughout the workout. They're the person that can find a way to like slip in a joke mid-workout and without distracting you, like they keep you engaged, they keep it fun. Then you go up to the director, and this is like the person you want on the floor when you have 40 people show up for Fight Gone Bad. They are prepared for class, both logistically, staging, they have a great presence in front of the group, they're a great public speaker, all those things. Then we go up to the technician, and this is what we traditionally think of as a CrossFit coach, the person that gets people to move better. They know the visual, verbal, tactile cues. They know basically how to see correct cue movement. They know all the ins and outs of the movements. And then we move up to the programmer, and this doesn't need to be the person that's doing the programming. It just needs to be the person that understands the bigger picture, understands the purpose of each workout of the day, is able to both present that at the whiteboard in a group setting, but also to tailor it to the individuals of that group when it comes down to one-on-one conversations. And then we have the coach, which is the person that can dynamically take on any of the roles below it in a 60-minute class, or as we think of it as more of an 80-minute class, because we talk about the 10-minute bookends before and after class. The coach can seamlessly transition from being a cheerleader and being your friend to just throwing in a technical cue to giving you a good stimulus for that day to directing the group. They just flow from one to the next. And they also start to bring in some of the life coaching aspects that we talk about, where the results in the gym are translating the things outside the gym. And that person is dialing in nutrition, they're dialing in lifestyle, and they are happier and healthier outside the gym because of the coach and what they bring to the table.
Love it, man. So good. Awesome. All right. So week 2, we've identified what makes a great coach.
Yeah.
What's in week 3?
So week 3, now the next 5 weeks, 6 weeks actually, we're going to break down each of the roles in detail, and we practice this as a progression. So the first 2 weeks, because we think the cheerleader is that important and that overlooked right now in our space, we spend 2 full weeks on the cheerleader. Then we go a week on the director, a week on the technician, a week on the programmer, and a week on the coach. So part 1 of week 3 is introducing the concept of the emotional bank account and breaking down all the different deposits that could be happening with the emotional bank account and all the different withdrawals. And for people that are new to the emotional bank account, basically it is like a regular bank account, but a way of assessing your relationship with another person. And there's a lot of things that we do in a given class experience when we're in the gym that we might not realize are having a negative effect on the individuals around us. So this is a really clear snapshot. We actually provide, I'll give you guys a quick little view of what that looks like. We provide a nice little breakdown of some of the deposits and withdrawals, and coaches can get a really clear snapshot of where they spend their time when they're on the coaching floor, and how specific actions can lead to better results, better relationships with people. And then from there, we focus on two things that relate to having difficult or uncomfortable conversations. And this is a skill that all great coaches have, is being able to, when something negative or something less than positive happens, to dive right in and tackle it on the spot. I talk about this with our team all the time. As our gym has grown to 500 members, it doesn't matter how much knowledge I have and how much I'm good at handling difficult conversations. I need an army of people, of coaches that can handle stuff one-on-one on the spot. So we're teaching our coaches how to handle things like when you see a member cheating reps, when you have a late member in class. How do we approach those? How do we have that conversation? And then we can translate that to a million other difficult or uncomfortable conversations, because we have the play kit to do that. Okay.
Love it.
Week 4 builds on the skills of the cheerleader. And one of my favorite videos of the course, and I talked about this when I introduced the course, is talking about caring and talking about how important that is, what actions show caring, and how can we just exude that every day that we're in the gym. And then we go into 2 really specific skills that branch off of that, which is remembering names and building relationships, and what are questions that we can ask to build relationships fast. So when it comes to remembering names, I firmly believe that, well, one, this is from Dale Carnegie. He talks about the person's name is the sweetest sound in any language. It's the word that if you hear it, doesn't matter what's going on, if you hear your name, your ears perk up, right? So the more we can use people's names, the better. Now, within that, what we see, especially with our Beach Fit program, we have new people coming to class all the time. There's very few wins that are better than when a person shows up for their second time to a class, second time ever, you remember their name, right? They showed up the first time, they told you their name. The second time they come, you remember their name. That win gets you so much, and it's so underrated that's why we need specific videos on remembering names. And from there, we go into a way to build relationships fast with people. I've always been really shy and introverted, and it kind of sounds funny to have kind of like video lessons on like sort of like how to get to know people, how to have a real conversation with people. But I find this is a skill that most people don't have. And a lot of people go to a party and they're awkward. They're not meeting people because they don't know what questions to ask. Tony Robbins is famous for saying that questions are the answers. If you can ask good questions, you can get to know someone really quick. And when you bring that side of caring that we talked about in that first video with a good set of questions, you can dive in so quick. And you can do that every day with people. You can do that with a brand new person. You can do that with a person who's been with you for years, and just like reconnect with them, go a layer deeper each time. So we give everyone a big list of questions that they can go through with their team to break down different categories. So you can think about it as categories. This helps to spawn off different questions, different conversations. And then we have you do this exercise with your team. So it's a really good team building exercise, because now your coaches are asking each other questions and finding out things about each other that they never knew. Coaches that have worked together for years are asking those stupid questions that they've been wanting to ask forever. Like, do you have siblings? Where were you born? Like little questions like that. Once you know that about a fellow coach, it just makes all the difference. So it's a great team building exercise. And then you have this skill now that you can take with any of your members to get to know them.
I think this is incredibly powerful. You are going over a lot of the things that I think people just glaze right over when they're hiring a coach or managing a coach, and that they're just grateful to have someone who kind of knows what they're doing, covering some classes. And this turns it from that into, we are making sure that every single person who is facilitating our product, our classes, has the ability to authentically connect with people, right? And that's, at the end of the day, I mean, if you watch or listen to this podcast regularly, you've probably heard me say this 100 times, we are in the relationship business first. All that other stuff, all the technical knowledge you have, nobody cares until they feel like you care about them. And actually taking this and laying this into a step-by-step course, I mean, frankly, you could just stop here and this would be incredibly powerful, let alone the fact that we continue down this journey. But it is so essential for people's success in this career as a coach, to be good at connecting with people and understanding some of these fundamentals in communication and relationship building so that they can create that effect. And it doesn't matter if they were socially awkward before, or like, hey man, I've just been a training nerd my whole life. I just know I've memorized all the progressions. I've done all the certifications, but I mean, I don't know what to do with people. It's way more common than we think. I mean, I've personally worked with people like that who were, 10 times the coach technically that I was, but I was far more successful in my coaching career simply because I was better at connecting with people than they were. Even though they were far more technically sound, they struggled in their career because they weren't able to do any of these things, right?
Yeah.
So just building this in as the foundation is key.
Yeah, I see a lot of coaches, especially higher level coaches or coaches that are aspiring to get to a higher level. It's like they want to learn so much technical knowledge that they no longer have to care about people. And this course is a reminder that it really does not matter how much you know. It's always going to come back to that caring piece first to get through to anybody.
No doubt. All right, so on to week 5, the director.
Yeah, so this is where we really start to transition because we've been spending a lot of time on relationship building, but we feel strongly that the director role is also super important. And again, this is that logistics master. It's that person that's a great public speaker. So we kind of start the lesson off by transitioning and talking about one of the key skills of the director is preparation. It's not so much what you're able to do on the fly. It's all the things you've been doing for years and that, the hours leading up to that class that enables you to be a great director. So we kind of set the stage with that first. And then we talk about something that's kind of near and dear to me, which is public speaking and communication. And this is something that I struggle with a lot, probably for like a full decade of my life. I was literally not a day went by where I was not fearful of like being put on the spot, public speaking. It was something I struggled with from middle school, high school into college. And now I feel blessed to actually be confident, be grateful to be doing something like this with you right now and be able to share this message, because for a while that was something that I struggled with. And I realized that a lot of, things like relationship building and public speaking, things that we think you're either born with or you're not, are skills that you can cultivate and learn and develop. And it does take a lot of practice. You're not going to read about public speaking and automatically become a public speaker, but there's specific things that we can think about that we can use as sort of like mantras, like leading up to a speech, during a speech, that can help us be more confident in front of a group, deliver a better message. And that's something that I really want to get in this course, and I think is a valuable part of the director role. And then we kind of break down things like staging. We talk about your presence at the whiteboard, how to kind of break that down and giving people a system to run, but also the flexibility to run their own system. I realize that there's a lot of people that have certain ways they want to brief a whiteboard, or brief a workout, brief a class. And we try to give enough structure while also giving flexibility for owners and coaches to make it their own for their teams. And then we talk about a big one, which is the director trap. And the director trap, basically what that is that once you become a good director, it's really easy to just sort of marinate in that role and spend all your time in that role. And you just spend your entire role sort of on the sidelines, in one place, sort of moving traffic, and you never dive in on an individual basis. So we really want to make sure that as people are mastering this director role, they're not forgetting that coaching still primarily happens on a one-on-one basis. It happens in the micro, and that the macro stuff is so important, but it's only setting the stage for everything else.
Love it. And will you click in as you go to the next stage here? I think you didn't actually click into the director on the last one here. Cool.
Yeah. So we kind of break down like whiteboard explanation. We also, that's going to be the exercise for that week, is kind of talking about that and making that part of that weekly meeting. We give people, we talk about notes as well. So we talk about, like, in terms of preparation, what are the bullet points that we want to know? Class size, what do we expect class size wise? Staging, scaling, stimulus of the workout. What are all the bullet points that we need to know prior to showing up? So we have that all bullet point listed out, and we give the coaches a chance to practice that if they're not already doing it on their own.
Awesome. All right. Week 6, the technician.
So now we start to build up in the technician, and I realize with this, I wanted to provide something that was tangible and a little bit different than just your typical level 1 and level 2 and level 3, because I feel like they do such a great job with that. This course is meant to get more out of those things, not meant to replace those things. So we talk about really just a concept of being honest and giving you a simple framework, what we call same, better, or worse, for evaluating your own coaching. And this is really a chance for coaches to have the skill set to develop themselves, because there's only so much an owner or head coach can do. So we want to give you a framework that you can sort of develop yourself from a technical standpoint when you're not given feedback from your head coach. We break down demoing, and demoing I think is a huge underrated skill, because what we're talking about with demoing is not just demoing and how important it is, but the different type of learning styles. We have visual learners, we have verbal learners, we have like tactile learners that have to do stuff. And demoing is really a way that we start to make our performance more well-rounded and give our members a chance to learn from all the different learning styles. And then we talk about finally a framework for learning and teaching anything. And again, giving coaches a chance to learn how to fish rather than to just give them the fish, is how do we disseminate all this information from YouTube and podcasts that we're listening to? How do we disseminate this into our coaching style and start to create a framework that's our own and start to actually use it right away? And I just give people a very simple framework for learning from YouTube, learning from podcasts, because I believe I still think that's the best way to learn. I think that you can do a lot of these courses in 1-day seminars and 2-day seminars, but no matter how many of those you do, it's always going to be a quick fix. And when you have a problem on the spot, when you're coaching tomorrow and tomorrow's workout has Turkish get-ups in it and you need to get better at that, you need to go out and find that information right away. So how do you take what's out there and incorporate that into a class immediately and make it your own? And this video is going to help with that. And then we really start to break down from a team setting. We start to now share this knowledge, and the exercise for that week is a way for your best coaches to now start to bring up your worst coaches. And that's what's really cool about this course, is that you're not going to have just one rockstar coach and then a weaker group, and that separation gets larger and larger. You're actually going to close the gap, because now you've opened the lines of communication between your best coaches and your worst coaches to help each other out.
Beautiful.
Then we go into week 7, which is the programmer. Okay. And this is number 1 about the lesson plan. We feel really strongly that a great lesson plan is far more important than great programming could ever be. Because when you think about it, programming most of the time is 10 to 20 minutes, right? That's the sweet spot for a CrossFit workout. It's going to last 10 to 20 minutes. That means in a 60-minute class, we have 40 to 50 minutes of client experience unaccounted for, right? So that's why a lesson plan, a detailed lesson plan, is going to make or break that client experience far more than the programming will. Okay, programming is important, but it's not the missing piece. It's not the most important piece. So we teach people how to create their own lesson plans. And this is a skill that you're going to want to have whether you're doing your own lesson plans, whether you have a head coach doing it, whether you do that outsource through NC Fit or CompTrain class. You're going to want to have this skill, because it's not going to just teach you how to do your own lesson plans. It's going to teach you how to evaluate a lesson plan that's out there and make adjustments. And I think that every person, whether they're getting outsourced programming or not, needs to be able to take a workout and tailor it to their facility, their class sizes, their equipment. If they're not doing that, then they're kind of missing the boat on that. And we kind of break down why most programming is overrated, which that touches on a lot of things that I was talking about in terms of the lesson plan being more important. And then we talk about your ideal member, okay? And this is a really great lesson because it extends beyond programming. Is so many gyms, we were so guilty of this. When you start out, you try to please everyone, right? Anytime someone wants to do weightlifting on the side, oh yeah, you can definitely do that. Oh, you want to do open gym? Yeah, we can work around that. Like every type of exception, you try to work around. So this is getting not just the owner to understand, but the coaches to understand who are our bread and butter clients, who are the ones that make us the happiest, the ones that we look forward to seeing every day, that help us to do what we want to do financially and never complain about price and all that stuff. And how do we speak to them with our whiteboard presentations, with our programming? How do we create workouts that are built around them and not just the competitive CrossFitter? So this is getting people really clear from a higher level of who is that ideal member and how can we speak to them and tailor everything we do to that person. And then finally, we go up to the coach, which is week 8. And this is really putting everything together. We talk about just a quick lesson on overcoming complacency and burnout. We talk about why coaches should take more classes. It's something that I feel very strongly about. I talked about on the 7-Figure Box podcast a ton, that taking classes is leading by example. It's integrity. It is what I sell you on at the whiteboard every single day is what I do myself. Okay. I'm not asking you to do anything different for your own fitness that I wouldn't do for myself. I think it's a huge integrity piece. I think it's a huge team over individual piece. I think if you want to be a part of a coaching team, there's sacrifices that need to be made. And maybe one of those sacrifices is that you're going to do more class workouts than you would do on your own if you weren't a part of that team. And it shouldn't feel like sacrifice, but if it needs to feel like sacrifice in order to actually make you do it, then you need to do it. And I think it's also one of the best coaches development tools that we have. Taking classes and being in your member's shoes, there's no replacement for that. You can look at a lesson plan all you want. You can coach as many classes as you want. Until you put yourself in your member's shoes, it's not going to matter. So
yeah. And on that note too, I think a lot of us who've been at this a while and have hired different types of people, right? So thinking like bringing a member up and turning them into a coach versus hiring externally and trying to integrate them. You know, when someone gets the culture and the vibe of the class that you're trying to do, the brand of your gym's experience, you know, and if you do that really, really well, you know, someone who attends that class is going to know it better than anyone, right? And so when you, especially if you're bringing someone in from the outside, if you have a coach who's coming from a totally different background, different experiences, different standards, different everything, right? Even though they may be a great fit technically into your gym, what is the one part you can't really just explain to them? It's exactly that. It's the class experience and getting a feel for the culture and the vibe and all that. This is all the in-between. This is the stuff that pulls it all together, where you can take someone from the outside and either make them part of your culture because they're going to start attending these classes, or those of us who've actually brought people up from within, see how much easier it is, right? To teach someone technical skills versus this piece.
Oh yeah.
Someone already knows and understands like the vibe and the style and how you guys do it. It is infinitely easier to be like, cool, now these are our points of performance, or these are our like preferred cues that we start with in teaching the snatch or whatever. It's way easier to do that than the other way around.
Oh yeah.
So tons of value in that.
It's kind of funny. We just hired a new coach, and like one thing he's doing is he's starting a course. Obviously I'm going through it with him and taking him through it individually because our team's not going through it right now. And then number 2 is get in as many classes as you possibly can. You're going to take CrossFit and Beach Fit every day. You don't have to kill yourself, but like you got to get into those classes every day because you got to get up to speed of how things should feel. You know, we can explain it all day, but you got to get in and feel it. So,
yep.
So really and then the final lesson here is we really put it all together. It's a 30+ minute video, one of the longest videos in the course that we call the excellence checklist. And I have it broken down here as a PDF below. And it is every step-by-step what we need to do in order to be successful on the floor. And you're going to notice these first 2 sections, all that happens before class even starts. Okay. So we have 12 things to do before class even starts in order to have a successful class. And that's one of the biggest missing pieces in gyms right now. And then we break it down through introduction, warm up, part 1 of the day, if you have a part 1 in there, workout of the day, cool down, 10 minutes after class, and then all the way through a post-class review. How do we ask the right questions to do this better the next time around? Okay. So the excellence checklist is a great way to kind of revisit the roles, the cheerleader, director, technician, programmer, coach as a whole. And then how do we implement those roles into actual action steps in what we would consider, you know, an 80 to 90 minute class, not just a 60-minute class. And once we start treating classes like that, it is just an absolute game changer. And then our final exercise is one of my favorites. I was telling you before the call, something that we refined after watching or reading the book, The Culture Code, which is something that Navy SEALs do, which is your final exercise is everyone's going to take a class that week, and everyone's going to come to your meeting ready to share one specific thing they loved about that class and one specific thing they thought could be improved. And usually it's 2 or 3 things per person, but they need to come up with at least one. They need to take a class every week. And that's one of the best ongoing coaches development tools that you can do that weekly. Whenever you don't have something structured for your coaches development, you can do that exercise, and it just becomes a constant way that no matter what, no matter how many events you have on the schedule, you're always doing some kind of coaches development in your meetings. And then the bonus material section is going to get built out actually a little bit more over time. But the one thing I wanted to leave people with was a formal way to evaluate their classes one-on-one. So if an owner wants to actually sit down, they don't want to take a class, they want to sit down with a piece of paper and break down that class, we want to give them the tools to be able to do that. My general belief, and when we talk about formal versus informal coaches development, I think that my ultimate goal for a lot of owners is that majority of the coaches development that you do is done actually more informally, whether it's worked into little exercises that we do in meetings, or whether it's casual conversations after taking a class or seeing a class. One of the goals of this course is to open up the lines of communication where critique and constructive feedback just becomes a part of your culture, both from you as the owner to the coach, from the coach to you as the owner, and within the coaches within each other to each other. So that way they're more open to giving feedback to each other, and they're not just trying to sugarcoat stuff, when they're trying to give feedback to people. And then we finish up the course. We go with a 45-minute follow-up call. And basically this is to help troubleshoot anything that didn't go well for you in the course. If there was something that just didn't click, and maybe we can rearrange it so it does click in the future. It's a way for you to realize now, how can we incorporate some of these lessons ongoing? How are you going to use this with a new coach when you hire a new coach and bring them on? And then really it's just creating a plan for the next 6 months, goals wise, like what's something we can have a very concrete goal for that we can work towards over the next 3 to 6 months.
I love it, man. So much value in here. And that last little bonus with the class evaluation worksheet, this is something we did a show on about a year ago with the 5-star checklist. And it was super popular because it pointed out how most coaches are just relying on, so how are classes going? They're going great. Cool. For measuring how good their product is. And there's no actual way to measure it. And what this does is it allows us to quantify like the various qualities that we want to be able to measure throughout a class, from the quality of your whiteboard presentation and time management, and did you use people's names and all these kinds of things. And by providing a tool that someone can just take and literally say, cool, now I can start measuring on a regular basis so that I can start working with them on specific things rather than how did that feel? Right. Yeah. It's a total game changer. I mean, even just going from nothing to just implementing that is already a huge breakthrough for a lot of people, where they start already getting a ton of great feedback from members because they start noticing improvements very quickly. Remember, guys, this is the fastest way for you guys to get engagement up, get retail sales up, to get retention up, to get all the things that you care about and need up in your business in order for your business to thrive. Will be accomplished through addressing this, because you are addressing the product. You're addressing their experience every day. And as soon as people start noticing, wow, people are using mine, because they usually can't put their finger on it, right? You're not showing them the checklist, but they're like, something feels awesome. And maybe it's because the coaches started using their names, right? Or people started paying attention to, the class flow and staying on time. And it's these little things that they feel, right? This is their experience. This is all they see. They don't know about everything that's happening behind the scenes, nor do they care, nor should they care. All they should care about is my experience in here making it feel like I'm getting a lot for my money? And do I want to continue coming back ultimately, right? And putting something as simple like this in place can have a very, very rapid return, even with just this, let alone everything between weeks 1 through 8 being done through that, and then having something to measure it on top of it.
Yeah, definitely. So, I actually evolved our class evaluation worksheet after seeing your 5-star class experience, because I thought it was so good. I was like, all right, there's some things that we can improve on ours. So I like that. I just want to show really quick, like how an assignment would work. So basically each assignment has a video from me explaining what the assignment is to the owners and the coaches. It has the assignment as a downloadable PDF. Some of them can be filled out on the spot. They have spaces on there to be filled out. Others are things that you're going to be doing live in your meetings, so they aren't going to be filled out. And then every week you have, as the owner, your meeting agendas. Okay. And this is something where I actually give you the option where you can watch the videos in your meetings as a team. And I think if you have a team where you're like, honestly, I'm not sure if they're going to watch the videos if I just assign it to them, you can just watch the videos live in your meeting and then plan your assignments right after that each week. And that's a great way to ensure the buy-in from everybody. So I give you both options and kind of show you how to take either one of those paths, what homework you need to do, if you need to do homework that's different from what the coaches need to do, and then step by step, how to break it down for each meeting. So, the skill set, this was a huge pain point for me. It still is to some degree because it's something I want to continue to improve. But when I started running regular meetings, it was something that stressed me out a lot. And having, I've learned a lot from other people and kind of distill that down into this course. And I think that it's going to be a skill set that a lot of owners now have, is how to run better meetings, how to create meetings that, as you said, coaches look forward to showing up to, that they feel like they get value from, that they feel like brings them closer to the other members of the team. So I really want to give that skill to owners, because I think it's something that a lot of them either lack confidence with or don't really know how to attack.
And it is imperative to your success, right? If you don't have buy-in from your staff, then you've got bigger fish to fry than, what am I doing for lead gen, or what's the best new sales trick? This is the center point of your business, is your staffing and their buy-in, and their not just buy-in to showing up on time and doing what's even written on the board, let alone to over delivering and making meaningful connections with people. It all comes back to this. And if you're not getting the buy-in to where you can't even get someone to show up to a staff meeting once a month, let alone once a week, then you need to take a hard look at how you're showing up as a leader and what kind of buy-in you're creating. And that is probably one of the most powerful pieces to this entire course, is that you provide a step-by-step dummy-proof way to do that with someone's team. I know from people who've now that you've had this out for a while, that's been a really high point of feedback, is that they loved how it just took that part off of their shoulders and just was, not only we were going to help you guys become better coaches and we improve the experience here and all the things that we've talked about so far, but like, we're going to now have staff meetings regular that people are going to actually start showing up to. It's going to help, increase the buy-in to the vision, to the quality of the service, all the things. Probably, worth the whole value of the course many times over just for that alone. Because most gym owners that I talk to, even gyms that are really established, and you'd be surprised to hear that from, they struggle with this. This is a real challenge for people. Whether they're a brand new gym or they've been in business for 15 years, this is a challenge, and it's a big one. And being able to tackle that through a proven system that's step-by-step is massive.
Yeah, there's so many short-term benefits, like we said, to this, of retaining more members, being able to coach less classes confidently. But one of the long-term benefits that's sort of really not even part of the sales of this, is because it's so far off, is that you're going to know who's really on your team, and you're going to know when you hire the next time who you're looking for. This is going to actually show you, like when we say hire for character first and then for technical skills second, you're going to have a very clear idea of what that means to you and your gym. Mm-hmm. And you're going to hire someone that already, maybe not as excelling in the cheerleader and director roles already, but like they have this skill set and the intangibles to excel in those. And you're going to know right away who's it's never going to work for, and who's going to be the person that you're going to dread taking them through this course, because they're not going to understand what those things mean and how it relates to a very good experience.
Yeah. Well, a phenomenal job, Andrew. And thanks again for walking us through all this. I don't think a lot of people would have the guts to share this much of it like you did. This is literally the product that people can buy and implement at their gym, and you popped the hood and showed us exactly what it is and how it works. So tip of the cap to you with that, man. And you've put together a hell of a program. Now, where can people learn more about this? And I know that you also have like a special discount code for our audience here for anyone who's interested in checking this thing out. Where can they find it? What's the process?
Definitely. So you can find out more about the course, sevenfigurebox.com/Rockstar Coaching Course. So 7 is spelled out, not the number, but spelled out, SEVEN, figurebox.com. And then Rockstar Coaching Course is all one word. There's no spaces or anything between that. And then you can go right into the course and sign up there. Use the discount code Gymwright at checkout. It's going to give you $100 off. That's going to guarantee that you get the 2 45-minute coaching calls before and after the course. So you can really tailor it to you. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Awesome, man. And thank you again for putting all that together. For those of you, who watched this today and were as impressed as I was when he first showed this to me, which is the whole reason we even had him on in the first place, aside from Andrew just being a stud. Go and check this out. This is more than a worthwhile investment, even if it was for the meeting structure alone, let alone all of the gold that he has laid out in here. It's beautifully put together. It is chock full of value, and something that's going to have an ROI that is literally immeasurable, because this will change how you do business forever. So I encourage you guys, if you really want to make your gym something that people are going to remember, and not only that your members are going to care about and remember and want to be a part of, but that is going to attract good coaches and is going to help you build real careers for people. This is where it all starts. So Andrew, thank you again so much for coming on today. Such a pleasure having you on again. And
thanks for having me, Marcus, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
I think that's it. I hope, looking forward to meeting some people through the course.
Awesome. Thanks again. And I want to thank all of you motivated gym owners out there for joining us again today. Again, if you're interested in learning more about how we might be able to help you break through in your business, sign up for a free strategy session with me at gymwright.com, and we'll identify where you're at, where the biggest opportunity is in your business, and the best path forward in taking your gym to the next level. Thanks again for joining us today. And now get out there and build something that matters. We'll see you guys all next week. Bye-bye.